Howdy, folks. We are long overdue for another episode of Squirrel Radio. You'll have to excuse me because my voice is a little out of sorts. I'm sick, but since I'm decided to stay home from work tonight, I figured I might as well do something constructive and record the next podcast. Now, full disclosure, I'm a little pissed off because I recorded this already once today. It must have been 40, 50 minutes long. But 17 minutes in, someone called my fucking phone and it stopped the recording and I didn't know it. So that when I finished and I went to turn it off, there was nothing there except for the first 17 minutes. And then when I tried to just listen back to 17 minutes and record from there, I accidentally erased the whole thing. So that sucked because I thought it went really well. And since you can obviously, I just ramble. Like, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about half the time. So let's hope that this one is as good or maybe even a little better than the first one I recorded. Anyway, today's going to be one of the first of a 3-part series that I'm calling the Fat Chronicles. And part 1's going to be, kind of what it was like being fat and what prompted me to lose weight, because that is a question I get all the time. All the time people ask me, when they hear how much weight I've lost, they can't believe it, and they ask me, what made you want to do it? How did you do it, and what made you want to do it? So how I did it will be part 2, the process. And then part 3 is what I'm calling Now What? Now, this is just a 3-part series, but basically the blog that I started many moons ago, which you can get to on Facebook or through my YouTube channel or whatever, I started that blog with the intention of basically making it into a book. And I wanted it to be about my weight loss. I was going to call it the slippery slope. Because it's a fucking slippery slope. When you're like me and you have an obsessive, addictive personality, it's never just one thing, right? I'm either going to be 300 fucking pounds or I'm going to be 100 pounds. Like, there is no middle of the road with me. I am literally in one extreme or another. I am on or I am off. This quality has caused me a lot of angst, but I've also made it work for me. Because when I go after something, I go after it with everything I've got, and I fucking get it. So it actually enables me to be quite confident in a few areas of my life. I say few areas. Definitely doesn't inspire confidence in all areas. And like I said, it can be a detriment, because when I decide to give up on something, I give up on it completely, which can be not great. So, what it was like being fat for me. I do not want anybody, and by anybody I mean all 15 fucking people who will actually listen to this, imagine that I was some picked on little girl, or big girl as it were. I started gaining weight around the age of 4. I would later find out that's because I'm not going to get into it, but my mother left my family when I was 4. And from that day forward, I kind of replaced her with food. Food was the only thing that made me happy. Food was the only thing that soothed me. I found this all out in retrospect by working the 12 steps of AA. I think I mentioned that before. A deep-seated fear of abandonment. And the only way I really coped with it was with food. So the only way and still to this day, the quickest way to make me happy is to fucking feed me. I think it's that way with most people. And when you're seeking that comfort food, you're not reaching for a head of fucking broccoli. I mean, I do now, but that's because of my other issue, my eating disorder, which will be part of part 3. You're reaching for what? deep fried shit, chips, you know, greasy, nasty, fatty, carby shit, McDonald's, all that stuff that just saturates your body, skyrockets your BMI, and causes type 2 diabetes and heart failure. So, right. Once again, I'll just say this. People who know me know this. I am not for the faint of heart. I'm 100% honest, brutally honest. I don't filter what I say. You know, people who like me really like me, but people who don't like me really don't like me. I'm not someone people feel lukewarm about. And I've been like that basically ever since I was shot out of my mother's uterus. I've always been a very domineering, type A, extroverted personality who talked a lot and did not spare words for anybody. At least not to save their feelings. And basically growing up fat, what happened was I was not picked on because I got ahead of people. I was one step ahead of everybody. I made it very obvious to everybody very fast that I was not the kind of person that you fucked with or that you picked on. From the age of like 5, I had a book. I kept a book of insults for people ready in case they picked on me. I could hurl such an amalgamation of insults at them that I would literally render them into tears. And when this becomes the person that you are, like, you just get a reputation for being a nasty bitch and people don't fuck with you. So I was always known as a happy, cheery kind of person, which, you know, basically people would excuse my obesity because I was either nice or because they just knew you don't mess with Summer. She can take care of herself. She sticks up for herself. Like, I'm just not, like, I was almost always the terror and not the terror-y. Now, there was times where I got picked on, and it hurt. And I coped with it in a few different ways. But for the most part, if someone messed with me, I would cut them down into pieces so fast that they just didn't know what to do. I mean, I remember when I was in 6th grade, I was, I had 5. I was 11 years old. And I was working some kind of function with all the seniors of high school. So, 17, 18-year-olds. And the most popular boy in the senior class said something about me being a cute little pudgy butterball. And he wasn't even being insulting. He thought I was just this cute, roly-poly little girl. Well, that was the first and last time he made that mistake. I'm not sure what I said. I'm pretty sure it had something to do with him being a shoeless, deodorant devoid, hapless hippie. I'm sure there was some yo mama jokes and you're so stupid jokes. But the rapid succession of insults that I threw at this kid literally rendered him incapacitated, and he ended up crying. And when you're 11 years old and you make the most popular senior boy in your school cry, guess what happens? No one fucks with you after that. Add that to the fact that all of my best friends were the most popular guys in school. Now, I went to a very, very, very small school. You have to understand that. So it's not like I was contending with the popular girls or jocks. I was the most popular girl in my high school because I was this way. I just demanded attention from people. And all my best friends were the guys, which, would later totally fuck me over in the relationship category because all I know is that, oh, guys are friends. Guys aren't anything more than friends. And because I was always very self-aware about my fatness, I knew I was fat and I knew I wasn't attractive and that guys wouldn't want to be with me because I was fat. So I put up that barrier very, very, very early in life. And I never I just I wasn't driven towards dating or relationships, mostly because all my guys were friends. So I never wanted for that male attention, ever. If I wanted male attention, I could just turn to any one of my friends and get it. It wasn't physical attention, but like I said, I never expected that because even, I knew how unattractive I was and I didn't feel attractive, so I wasn't that interested. Later that would change and I dealt with it poorly, admittedly, in various ways, but, we all do dumb shit when we're older. We don't know ourselves. But the one thing I did know is that I was fat and that I didn't give a shit. I really didn't care. With the exception of the few things that I'm going to talk about, I was unforgiving about the way that I was. I didn't care. And in fact, there were periods of time throughout my youth where I actually started to lose weight. And I stopped because I identified. After being big for so long, I just assumed that I was big boned, that I was built to be big. In 7th grade, so when I was 12 years old, I remember weighing in at 170 some pounds. So that's it's probably around 80 kilos. No, it's more than 80 kilos. It's probably around 85 kilos for you NZers. So in 7th grade, 12 years old, I was probably 4'8", 4'9". I was always very short. I weighed 30 kilos more than I do now. I hover around, 126, 27 pounds, around 57 kilos. I was so fucking fat. And I didn't care, because like I said, I didn't want for friends. I didn't want for male attention. I had everything that I could ever want. I remember in grade school, a kid calling me the beast, and I took it as a fucking compliment. I was not this tortured little soul, like I said. So yeah, don't get that idea in my head. Don't feel bad for me. That said, there was a few things that happened that made me realize, okay, I really got to start thinking about this, because shit's getting heavy, no pun intended. And it didn't happen until college, uni, again for you New Zealanders. And it didn't happen until late in college, really, that these things started happening, where I realized, oh my God, I really, I have to do something. I'm really fucking fat. But I'll say one thing, and this goes back to, I'm very intuitive. I'm not going to get into my spirituality, but there are things that I know, that I've known for a long time, that I don't really share with anybody, even though I share almost everything. Everything is on limits with me. I'm an open book. But I've had a feeling ever since, I don't know, middle school, that I wouldn't always be fat. And I think that that's what kind of enabled me to be fat for so long, is I knew at one point that I would lose the weight. And I wasn't worried about being fat, because I just knew I'm going to lose weight one day. And I knew this, and I kind of associated it with this song by my favorite band. Well, my real favorite band is The Cure, but my favorite band in 7th grade was a band called Orgy, and I love them so much that I got Orgy tattooed on my left shoulder, or right shoulder. So that's fun. Yes, I have a tattoo that says Orgy. They had a song called Fetisha on their first album. And at some point in the song, they say, the lyrics say, "It's getting bigger like she used to be." And, that obviously means whatever it means to them, the songwriters. But to me, it was like me later in life when I used to be big. And I would think about that. I'm not going to be this way. And that's kind of how I told myself that. I won't always be big. I will lose this weight. I don't know how. I don't know when. But I will not be like this forever. So, that being said, I'll move on to the first situation that took place that I really knew. And like I said, it didn't happen until I'm pretty sure I was 21, because it happened during senior week of uni, which is where, everything is done. All of our exams are done. All we have to do is walk across the fucking quad and get our diplomas. It felt amazing. Like this is the best time of our life, right? We're done school. We're done uni. And basically my school gives the seniors a week, plans a ton of events for them, and we just party for a week straight before graduation. It's great. So my friends and I went to an amusement park. And if I wrote this chapter in a book, I would call it The Super Suck. Because basically, my friends and I were in line for the biggest, most crazy roller coaster at this park. It was called the Superman. You're in line for fucking an hour and a half. You spend a considerable amount of your day just waiting in line to get on this roller coaster. So finally, I'm with my best friend, and we get in the little cars, and we're, that rush of adrenaline is starting. You're getting all excited. I've actually been on that ride before, like 5 years previously. And I remember it, and I'm getting really excited because I love shit like that. And I reach down and go to buckle the seatbelt, and it wouldn't buckle. I was too fat to buckle the seatbelt. And at that point, the fucking cold sweat starts. I'm getting nervous. I'm fidgeting, like I'm fucking with it. I'm trying to get it to, I'm sucking it in. I'm sucking in my fat, like, oh my God, I'm trying everything. And finally, I realize this seatbelt's not buckling. And I just look over at my best friend with this look on my face, mortified. And the guy's coming to check everybody, because they're not going to start the ride up until they check all the restraints. And I realize I've got to get out of the fucking car. And there's 100 people waiting to get on the ride who can all see this. And I made a decision to basically pretend verbally, and since my voice carries from fucking coast to coast, I decided to loudly verbalize that I was too afraid. If the guy came up to me and I got out of the car and I was like, yeah, I'm too afraid, I don't want to do it. Because at that point, it was less embarrassing for the people on the other side to hear that I'm too scared to go on the ride than that I'm too fat to buckle the fucking seatbelt. I can't go on the ride. It's not that I don't want to, or that I'm too scared. At this point in my life, the only thing I'm too scared to do is eat a cupcake. There's not much that scares me. Oh, emotional pain scares me. But that's another topic. Yeah, I wasn't afraid of that goddamn roller coaster. But it was so embarrassing to admit that I couldn't buckle the seatbelt that I just decided, whatever, I'd rather these people think I'm a pussy. I went down the ramp and I waited for my friends to go through the ride, and when they came out, my best friend was really sweet, and she was like, I think there was something wrong. I think that was like a kid's seat or something. There was something wrong with that seatbelt. It was smaller than normal. And I knew she was just being sweet. She was just being nice. I knew the truth. There was nothing special about that car. There was nothing different about that seatbelt. I was just too fat. Put a real bummer on the day. But, yeah, that was the first big incident. The next thing that happened was, it wasn't obvious to me, but when I graduated college, the same time I graduated college, my mom turned 50. And my mom and I hadn't ever really traveled, and that was always one of the things I wanted to do more than anything was travel and get outside of the United States. So for her 50th and as like a gift to myself as a graduation present, I took us on a cruise through the Caribbean. And I just remember thinking during that whole cruise, like, Jesus, I feel like I'm wasting this. I just felt like I was wasting the opportunity because I was so fat and I was so uncomfortable. I mean, I was seriously pushing maximum density at that point. I don't know how much I weighed. I know it was well over 200 pounds. I wasn't at my biggest, but I was probably about 230 pounds. Have that. I don't know, 115 kilos probably. I'm guesstimating. I don't know for sure. And since it was, mostly Americans on the cruise, I was definitely not the fattest person. In fact, sadly enough, I probably was one of the thinner people on that cruise. Because people who go on cruises are notoriously fucking fat. But anyway, I just, I wouldn't wear a bathing suit. I wore t-shirts and pants, and at this point I was at least a 2XL. I just remember, like, I look back at pictures of that cruise, and I'm like, I just remember how uncomfortable I was. I remember how unhappy I was. Like, I was getting unhappy with who I am. And I'm here to tell you, the first thing you need to know about me is I don't fucking care what size you are. I don't judge fat people. I don't judge anybody based on their looks. I make observances, but observances and judgments are not the same thing. I love nothing so much as people watching. I love observing people's oddities, but I do not make assumptions on their personality based on those observations. That's judgment. I make that distinguishment. A lot of people don't, and they can say I'm a judgmental bitch all they want, and it doesn't. I don't. That's them being judgmental. About me being judgmental, I don't really care. But the funny thing is that, and this goes along with my personality too. Ooh, that was squeaky. As fat as I was on that cruise, I got laid. And I banged some dude. At that point, I was really glad I paid the extra money for a room with a balcony, because my mom was passed out wasted in the room. Not my finest moment, but then again, sexual misadventures were pretty common in my fat days, because you have no self-esteem, so obviously you don't give a shit. You're just starved for attention. You don't really care how it comes. No pun intended. Oh, shit just got real. Anyway, yeah, I totally banged a dude. That was my lowest age, I think. He was 19. I think I was 20. I was 22 at the time, I think. 21? Nah, it doesn't matter. But, yeah, because it didn't matter I was fat. My personality, like I've said time and time again, it's never changed. When I turn on that charm, people can't resist me. I say the most outlandish shit people have ever heard. It surprises me, and I'm the one saying it, for fuck's sake. There's no way for me to predict what's going to come out of my mouth at any point in time. It is completely unfiltered, spontaneous shit that just flies out of my mouth. Half the time, I'm more shocked than the people I'm talking to, because I'm like, shit, did I just say that? I probably shouldn't have. So anyway, yeah, I mean, I had no problem turning on the charm for the boys when I thought it was worth it. I thought that was funny as shit. But anyway, yeah, that cruise, like, it still bothered me. It still bothered me that I was that fat. The next thing is something I'd like to call taking home the fatty. This happened in graduate school. The last two things happened in graduate school when I was in Denver. Denver is where I started and almost finished my weight loss. More on that in parts 2 and 3. But it is where I started. Because basically, you can't live in Denver or Colorado in general and be fat. It's just not possible. Because it's so gorgeous there and there's so much to do outdoors that it just doesn't condone an obese lifestyle. Now, there are plenty of fat people in Denver, but living there, it made it much easier to lose weight living there than anywhere else. They focus on healthy eating there and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, even though I was a cellular biologist, I had a friend who was in microbiology. So I went to a party one night where the immunologists were hanging out. God damn, my voice is bad. Anyway, yes, what I'm trying to tell you is that biologists are such geeks that we actually distinguish between the various realms of biology, and graduate students in those areas tend to only hang out with graduate students from those areas. So the cell biologists hang out, and the microbiologists hang out, and the immunologists hang out. But there's very little cross-pollination between the groups. So anyway, one of my favorite things to do in Denver was to go to parties where people didn't know me and talk in a British accent. It was a great way to pick up guys. It doesn't work here because people can tell that it's fake by hearing me in New Zealand, obviously. But Americans are stupid and guys think it's sexy as shit. So I used to do that a lot. And in true summer fashion, I was never staying in one place that night. I never focus all my attention on any one person. I love to be the social butterfly and just kind of flitter around the room and talk to everybody. But there was this one guy who was particularly keen on me, and I talked to him for quite a while. And when it started getting late, he was like, "So, you want to come back to my place?" And I started laughing. And he looked, poor fucker, he looked so confused. And I don't know how much I'd had to drink at this point. You have to understand, I used to drink. Oh, in graduate school, I drank my face off. I drank so much. My favorite drink in graduate school was something I invented with my friend Calvin called the crescent wrench. And it's my take on a screwdriver. You know, screwdriver is vodka and orange juice. Well, my favorite tool is a crescent wrench, and I like gin. So I would mix gin with orange juice and put a little bit of Sprite in it, and I called that a crescent wrench. So I'd probably drink about a bottle of gin at this point. But anyway, this guy wanted to take me home, and I just started laughing, and I was like, wow, how sad is that? You want to take home the fatty. Oh my God. Now just think about that. I was talking about myself. I was the fatty. I was picking on him for wanting to take me home because I was the fat girl. That's how self-aware I was about how I looked. I knew I was fat, and I knew that it was sad to be the one to take home the fat girl because it means you're scraping the bottom of the fucking barrel. Can we say low self-esteem much? I mean, my God, I literally thought that I was the worst that this guy could do, and I was laughing at him for trying to take me home. I don't know who I felt bad for, me or him. He was so fucking confused. Who talks about themselves that way? Well, I did. You know, that's literally how I viewed myself. It's like, wow. When it dawned on me, I was like, Summer, you need to get a grip. That's just insane. That's just a level of insanity that even you shouldn't be getting down to. Taking home the fatty. It is sad. It just really made it obvious to me how I viewed myself. And if I was going to change that, then I needed to change how fat I was. Which brings me to my last point. This was the tipping point for me. This was the straw that broke the camel's back. I think it was probably, 6 months before I decided to lose weight that this happened. It was in Denver, and oddly enough, my best friend had come out to visit. This is the same best friend who was on the Superman ride with me. So she was obviously very used to my obesity. And her and I love to party. Oh, we love to party, love to go out and dance. And I'm still like that. I just don't drink much. I just would rather go out and dance with friends. And I'm not 250 pounds. But we went to this awesome club in Denver called The Church. I recommend it to anybody who's ever in Denver. It's a really cool club that is, unsurprisingly, in a church. And the different levels of the church have different music. So the top floor was hip-hop, and the bottom floor was goth. Now, talk about loving to observe the oddities of others. Go outside of this club. The two levels share a smoking section. One of my favorite things to do was go to that club and go outside into the smoking section and watch the stark line between the black people from the hip-hop group and the white goths who hung out downstairs. It was so funny. There was no mingling going on between those two groups. I mean, you could just draw like a line right down the center. Oh, and I would just love going over that line as many times as I could. Talking to people from the hip-hop side and then going to talk to people on the goth side. Because that's me. I love them all. I love all the freaks. But anyway, Nancy and I, the goth music is what we really like. Acting like freaks. We never dress that way, but The Cure is my all-time favorite band, and I don't know, there's something about goths scuffling their sad-ass little feet. Oh, the boys wearing eyeliner. I don't know, for some reason I just liked them. We met a couple of guys there, and we decided to all go back to my place. And Nancy and this one guy's friend that I was talking to was in the living room, and me and this other guy were in my bedroom. I think we were making out or something. We're definitely making out. I remember that. Again, I was a fucking drunk. I don't remember a lot, but I'll never forget these words. We were making out or whatever, and this guy, I don't know whether he thought he was turning me on or what by saying this, but these are words I will never forget. He looked at me and he said, "Yeah, I really like big women. My wife is a big woman." Holy shit. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, how can so few words say so much? At that point, it dawned on me that the only men who were going to be attracted to me were men who had fetishes, who were into obese women in a sexually explicit way. That my chances of any kind of functional, healthy relationship, which were never very good to begin with, because you have to remember I was 23 at this point and I had never had a boyfriend. I didn't have my first boyfriend until after I lost the weight. I met Chris when I was 24, 4 days before my 25th birthday, so I was basically 25 when I had my first relationship. But anyway, it dawned on me that I was so big that normal men were never going to be attracted to me. And I don't watch fucking Oprah, but I remember seeing some special on Oprah about this group that called themselves the FAs, the Fat Admirers. It's like when you go to those novelty shops like Spencer Gifts, and you buy those birthday cards with the super obese women eating birthday cake on them, and it says something sick and funny inside. And isn't that funny that we've come full circle? That the song that made me realize I knew I was going to lose weight someday is a song called Fetisha. And the straw that broke the camel's back that made me realize I needed to lose weight was that men with fetishes were the only men that were going to like me. Yeah. Talk about so sad, it's funny. So tragic, it's funny. Beyond those situations that I just described, I also started having health problems. I was 23 years old and was developing type 2 diabetes, and I said, fuck this. That was really the final straw with me. I have never wanted to be a stereotype. And yeah, you can call me a lot of things. You can call me a Leo. It's true. I'm very much a Leo. If you read the personality type of a Leo, I epitomize it. Type A extroverted personality. I fit into a lot of different categories because humans love to label each other. It means that social convention is working. It means that we can expect certain behaviors, certain actions out of people. And I think that that's why I love my personality so much. I love being called the wild card. That was my nickname. And when I lived in Colorado, everybody called me the wild card because they never knew what was going to come out of my mouth. I like that because it means that I am uncategorized. You can't categorize me. I'm unpredictable. Even I am unpredictable to myself. I love that about myself. Yes, there are certain things that I do the same way with disgusting repetition. But I like that I don't know what I'm going to say and I don't really know how I'm going to act until I do it. It means that people can't stereotype me. And I didn't want to be another fat American. I didn't want people to see me and just see the fat. And think, oh, there's another fat bitch. She probably eats like shit, doesn't exercise. I've never been lazy. I've never been inactive. I've actually exercised most of my life. But I ate such shit that it didn't matter. So, yeah. That's it. Other than that, I don't know. I just felt uncomfortable. I felt like I had reached maximum density. I couldn't sit and not pull at my fat. I felt uncomfortable in my own skin. And like I said, I don't give a shit what you look like or how much you weigh, so long as you're happy with yourself. The second you start feeling bad about yourself, or like you can't function, or that you're missing out on opportunities because of a physical hang-up that you have, then you need to fix it. You need to change. If you are unhappy, you need to change. It's not easy. It sucks. It really fucking sucks. Did I mention it's not easy? Change goes against everything we know as humans. Humans hate change. Hate it. Absolutely despise it. But if you want to be happy, then you have to be willing to change. You're not going to stay the same throughout your entire life. Change is inevitable. I say that, and I have changed, and I know I'll change in the future, and I'm not excited about that either. But I know it'll be worth it. I'm changing right now. Changing a few things about myself right now. It's hard. It's hard and it hurts, but it's going to be worth it. It's going to be wicked worth it. I'm not going to tell you what I'm talking about. At least one person is going to listen to this will know what I'm talking about, and that's all that matters. Yeah, the only other thing I'll say is, next time I'll talk about the process, and the only other thing I'm proud of myself about is, once I decided to lose the weight, it was like I already lost it. Once I set my mind to something, it's fucking done. Ask my friends here. I've told more than one person here, you're fucked, you're stuck with me. Because once I commit to something or someone, you're done. I've told my best friends here, you're screwed for life. You are, from this day forward, you are going to have a loud American in your life, and there's nothing you can do about it, because I am loyal as. You could full on just whip it out and take a piss on me, and I'd be like, hey, what are we doing tomorrow? That was fun. That was new. Let's try something else. Yeah. Keeps life interesting, at least. But yeah, if there could be a take-home message from this, it's that, look, I was happy. I was happy for a while. For a large amount of my life, I was fine being big. It didn't bother me. And I was big. And my friends loved me, and life was peachy. It was when that unhappiness kind of disseminated and it started affecting my outside relationships. And, I started to realize that I was never going to have a romantic relationship while I was big. Not because I couldn't, but because I was not willing to be the fat girl. I could not, here's what it came down to, and this is what it came down to that night when I said, oh my God, you're going to take home the fatty. I did not respect that guy because he was going to take home the fatty. I knew, it became apparent to me at some point that I cannot respect a man who would find that attractive. I can't respect someone who wasn't disgusted with me because I was disgusted with me. I'm not saying that men who are turned on by fat women are weird. I think that's wonderful. I think it's fantastic because there are tons of bigger women out there who need men like that because they're happy with themselves and they deserve to be with someone who loves them for who they are. And that's beautiful. Please do not think for 2 seconds that I'm being judgmental about fat people. I'm saying that for me, that was not right. That I did not want to be with someone who wanted to be with a fat person because I did not want to be with a fat person. And once I realized that, I committed to change. And somehow, somewhere along the way, went completely off the fucking rails. But you're going to have to wait for part 3 for that one. So, with that, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope to fucking God that this actually recorded. Okay, good, it did. I would have been so pissed. Note to self, I'm going to record these in airport mode from now on because someone calling me is what interrupted the voice memo. And I never get phone calls. It's bullshit, so. Anyway, thanks for listening. I'll put up part 2, the process, at some point. I don't know when. I just wanted to tease you because I want more people to listen to this shit. Because I'm a narcissist. Anyway, Squirrel Radio, over and out.